You know, people think as soon as you step down from Heathrow or Gatwick, you're literally picking pounds along the road. And so they expect in 2 or 3 weeks, you should be able to send a couple of money back home, you know, so celebrate their birthdays and all of that. Okay, that's a good perspective. I want to come back to you now, Lily, and then I'll come to you, Greo. Maintaining identity. Over time, we've seen people who, you know, your name is Osaseni here, and then you're here and you've basically shaved off everything Benin in you. Where is it though? Where is it though? Where is it, PG?
Okay. By one, the first thing they know you from is by your name. I've got 3 kids. None have a name. They do middle name, but the first name is Benin. So when they go to school, the kids emphasize, you call me this. So when you hear the name, you know they're from Benin. So that's one way to maintain that as a Benin. I won't say much because I can't speak Benin, but I understand Benin for our cultural practices. You know, things that we're supposed to do as Beniners. One, the greetings in the morning, because every Benin family has a particular greetings. So when they greet that, you can tell what part of Benin, what region from Benin, or what family this group of people from. So from there you know. So that's one way to maintain your identity as Benin. And you know, coming to things like this, where there is promotion of Benin culture, you bring your kids there, let them participate, let them, you know, get involved. My middle child, she's everything Benin. She knows everything about Benin. If I ask her to come down to speak now, she'll speak better than me. Because she knows everything, so she's interested because of, she sees that dad is interested in Benin, so she is interested in Benin. And all my kids are the same. So for me, that's the only way I think all year, if you're Beninese or even if you've not been here, but along you're Nigerian or West African, and give them, make sure you give them the names, your native name. Don't start calling them Western name. It has no really meaning to you. Just give them your real name. So that's my take on that.
I think that's absolutely brilliant, right? Maintaining identity here, you have to start with the names. Your children need to hold that names. Sometimes we worry so much about if people can pronounce those names, right? So I'd rather just give them something easy for them to pronounce. But I've seen Ukrainians and Russians. And Indians with very long names, and you have to adjust to pronounce the names, right? They stick with their names. So I think that's really very important. You know, the names of the children or your names themselves have to carry that identity from where you're coming from. You also talked about what was the other thing you talked about again?
Greetings.
The greetings.
Greetings. In fact, in Benin, I wear uhu natweredo. Right, there's something unique about the Benin people. Each family have the way they greet. So your children shouldn't wake up in the morning and say good morning, Dad. And that's what some of them say good morning, Dad. They're like, yo, hi, Dad, hello. Right, so it's important that we connect them to the.
I witnessed where your family who live far and wide come back home to the ancestral home, the Gilbert, so that you know your cousins. You know your relatives, and you actually relate with them, no pun intended. So the thing is, my fear is, I went to primary school in Benin, secondary school in Lagos, and Uniben, right? So I observed, I still keep contacts with my friends from nursery school, like as early as 2.5 years old. But there's a problem. One could be in Australia, the other is in Canada. Then I'm in London, some are still in Benin. So back home, you actually see the whole family gather around the bereaved. They just comport the bereaved. Some take up the role of sleeping by the side. Some also try to do the cookings and running around. So to make that transitional period very, very smooth. But when you're here now, it's a big problem because you don't have that community with you. Probably you do around Zoom meetings or WhatsApp. So in me trying to prescribe to that ailment, so I feel pertaining to the family structure, where you now have friends, where you now also have cousins who don't even know. Like, I fear that most of us here, our offsprings will not actually have that structure for family resolution and whatnot, in terms of celebration or whatnot. So the thing is, I've always asked this question: how do we solve these problems that is pretending like it's going to happen? So is it that we have to take a conscious effort where, if it's having Zoom meetings with your closely knitted, because it's a very, very supportive structure?
I totally agree. I think the angle from where you've come, it's quite telling. African tradition morph.
Call that cultural thing.
Right? And the family the girl's family was somewhere else, the groom's family was somewhere else, and they had a screen, and you know when you have multiple views, right, on Zoom or team meetings, and they had multiple screens of everybody. You couldn't even identify who was who. And then someone was given the instruction, okay, carry the girl on your lap, count her 7 times, right? These were things that were supposed to be structurally done by the egbe, as it were. But I also like the fact that, the world is changing, right? We have to move with the trends. Of course, you may not be able to bring everybody from Canada back home, but rather than going into existential crisis, we can continue to foster the spirit of family, right? Monthly meetings, there's something my mom does. Now that you're saying this, it's making sense. My mom has always said we could have a family meeting once every month, right? Or once every 2 months. Because to be fair and to be very honest, I do not know some of my cousins. I had asked my cousin out back home in Nigeria several years ago. We met online, we got talking. The talking stage and everything, we did all of that. And we were supposed to see, right? That first point where you see them. So I asked her where I was going to pick her from, and she gave me a house address. Fortunately, I knew that house address. One thing about African families or Nigerian families or Benin families, now mama's side, now we like it. Right? Now mama's side, now we like. We're not really too like papa's side, right? What I mean is, we're always closer to our mom's family. Mom, her sisters, right? Because somehow, your mom's sisters will take you like their kids. While your dad's brothers and your dad's sisters sometimes are in an unhealthy competition with your dad, right? They want to check your results. Whose child had a higher grade? Whose child had... Your mom's sisters don't care. They just want you to come around and just play with their kids. And so she gave me the house address, and I said, that can't be the house where you're from. She said, that's the house she's from. I said, I know that house. I've been in that house multiple times. Are you guys renters or tenants in the house? And she said, no, that the house belongs to them. I said, the house cannot belong to you, because I know the people that the house belongs to. And then she said, what am I talking about? And then I said, do you know this person? And she's like, that's my auntie. I'm like, do you know this person? And she goes, that's my mom. How do you know these people? I'm like, oh my God, these are my aunties. And then she goes, are you serious? I had to tell my mom, and then my mom had to call her mom, and then they called the family meeting, and then they started asking us questions. It is sacrilegious for both of you. So, have you been intimate with each other? Have you guys done any of these things? Because we have to do sacrifices to appease the gods because we are too close. It's just the reflection of what you've said. We've gone so far apart. Our children don't know their cousins. They don't know their siblings. The parents are not even doing anything.
I appreciated my dad doing was we would always drive down to Benin. And so until the time my granddad died, my grandfather died, he had 23 children, 63 grandchildren, and one grandchild at the time. And one thing that they try to do is, they know, I know my dad's siblings, I know the ones that they give him, but I probably don't know the little ones at the moment. But what they try to do is every year they would do like a reunion for the ones in Nigeria, and then a lot of us are spread across, different places. But because I was always going to Benin, I might not be able to talk to my dad about man problem, but guess what? I had a cousin in Canada that I just found this man wants to choke me, and he would, give me advice. Just my cousin, and then we decided to, we have a WhatsApp group where we check on each other. And last time I traveled to Canada, I did not spend, this time was my flight, so I had places to stay. They were driving me, come and stay, come and stay, come and stay there. So I think as people, we need to first decide what kind of life do we want to give our children and the next generation. And we have to be very intentional about that. Of course, my dad and his siblings would quarrel, but they never really allowed it to impact how we build relationship with my cousins. Because we would still go to my cousin's house even though my dad and his brother are not talking. We just said that this matter will concern us, you guys, bring them. Because if we allowed it to affect us, they would settle 10 years later, and then there's this huge gap between myself and my cousin, and I've lost that relationship that would help my mental health in the future. So I think as people, as we are now, it is not convenient. Let's start there. It is not convenient trying to build relationship. It is not convenient trying to, this person that you don't like, trying to see how your children and their children would be friends somehow. But that's the first thing we introduce to your children anyway. We have a high rise of loneliness. That is because people don't have community, they don't know where they are. We are leaving them to the public to teach them things. We are leaving them to try and diffuse what relationships should be like, what relationships should look like.
I just want to say for my family, my kids, they all have Benin names. And what my parents did before they went back home, they always have family parties. And while we came back, returned back to the UK, we all have, let me say my dad's side, for example, we have summer party. We've already started on WhatsApp. Everyone is going to bring food, bring drink, you choose what you want. And this summer we're having a summer party. Then Christmas time, we also have Christmas parties. Or last Christmas, it was my eldest cousin, the older one. She was the one that sponsored it. She actually agreed. Every year, we always have someone that will take the lead. Yeah. Once the party is about to end, who is the next house we're going to next year? And someone have to agree to say, okay, I'm the one taking the lead this year. So last year was my cousin. She's the eldest in the family. She turned 60 now. She actually rented a place for us to go, but we brought food, like that. Then my mom's side, the same. We have the Christmas party and everything, and that way we are able to balance it.